meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills. Please be advised that this and all meetings of the board are open to the public and media consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act, and that advance notice required therein has been provided. This is a meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills at which formal action may be taken. The public will have an opportunity to be heard as shown on the agenda. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Baker?
Here.
Mr. DiGiappino?
Here.
Mrs. Hoppy?
Here.
Mrs. Lees?
Here.
Mr. McDonald?
Here.
Ms. Sui?
Here.
Mrs. Tober?
Here.
Ms. Virtue?
Here.
Ms. Birch?
Here.
Mr. Palmer?
Here. We've been in executive session, so I'd like to move on to correspondence, please.
We have two letters in the correspondence, one from Isabel Corbin and one from Deborah Infusino, both regarding the safe schools.
And I'd like to make a comment that we understand the concerns about the interests of the school. You understand the concerns, but in the interest of the school district, we need to be compliant with the law. And as a school district, we follow all regulations for admission. So I'd like to move on to report of the superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight we begin our student recognitions for the year. And tonight we are going to recognize Jack Eblett. So Jack, come on down or up.
Where should I do?
You can go right here. And I'm going to face everybody because I have to read all these wonderful things about you. So our Jack's guidance counselor was kind enough to put together a summary of who he is. But why we are recognizing him is because during the summertime, he went, well, I'll just read it because it gets into that. But what she wrote was, and this is a compilation from your teachers as well as your guidance counselor. So Jack is exceptionally conscientious about his responsibilities and commitments, whether that be in the classroom or on the athletic field or in the community. He sets challenging yet attainable goals for himself and has subsequently grown into a confident and independent young man. More recently, this was evidenced in his efforts in the area of community service. Last school year, Jack, along with his sister, established a GoFundMe project to assist in the building of homes and a school in Guatemala. Raising an impressive $6,000 from the generous members of the Bernardsville community, Jack, along with his family and members of the local church communities, embarked on a week-long mission trip to Guatemala. Partnering with Potter's House, an organization dedicated to development programs in Guatemala City, Jack aided in the building of a local school and a 2-room home for a local family of 5. Jack very maturely admits that his experiences in Guatemala were eye-opening and profound, and he was honored to be able to contribute to this effort. Outside of school, Jack has a passion for baseball and is an avid fisherman. Jack is not only a well-respected member of the BHS varsity baseball team, he trains and plays throughout the year on his travel team, the Morris County Cubs. Jack is also a member of the Key Club, the Red Cross Club, and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Obviously, tonight we are recognizing him for those efforts down in Guatemala and in helping to build the school and also the home. And he also just told me that the family has, well, you can tell everybody.
So,
Here you go.
So when they built the house, the day we presented it to them, the Potter's House, they made a plaque for us. It's in Spanish. I don't know what it translates to, but it was a plaque that says Bernards High School on it and shows that it was dedicated by Bernards High School, and it was put on the wall in their living room just to show that it was dedicated by Bernards High School.
Yeah, so
I
something.
have a picture of it.
Yes,
too.
which you're going
I'll
to send me
I'll
so that we can
yeah.
put it in the newsletter and
Yeah.
everything else. But obviously, we're very proud of this young man for his efforts and the person that you are. So it's great that you are our first recognition. I couldn't think of a better way to begin the school year to recognize a student for such giving
Thank you.
and total service. So thank you. All right, picture time.
I'm a senior.
Jack, how'd you get involved in FCA?
Two of my really good friends started it, so they asked me if I wanted to be a member, and they actually started it, I want to say, I think it was the end of last year they started it. There's only been a few meetings, so that's how I got it.
All right. Mr. Palmer is our board president. You can come up and take the picture, that's why we do this part, if you want. Got it? Did you get it? You got your
Thanks.
picture?
Thank you.
Okay.
I do.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
we're very, very proud of you. Okay? Thank
Granny, we're not colors now.
you. What's that?
Wearing blue and gray.
I know. You
Just
know,
saying.
It's too early to start now. I did notice it though. Okay, so next we have our report from the other Jack. Where's Jack Broderick? All right, hi. Jack is our student rep for this year.
There we go. All right. Hi, everyone. So let's start off with the yearbook because congratulations are in order. The yearbook received a first-class honor rating from the National Scholastic Press Association. They were also given the All New Jersey Platinum Award from the Garden State Scholastic Press Association. And they also received first-place critique from the American Scholastic Press Association. And in addition to that, the ASPA created an award to specifically honor the divider pages in the yearbook, so that was really cool for them. On the topic of marching band won Best Music, Best Visual, Best Overall Effect at the 100 Central U.S. Bands Competition. In addition to that, they also won Best Visual, Color Guard, Percussion, Overall Effect, and first place at the Somerville Festival. In addition to that, the Columbus Citizens Foundation awarded the marching band second place in the New York City Columbus Day Parade. So definitely, if you know someone in marching band, tell them good job, because they've been working really hard on that. For the seniors at BHS, which Jack and this Jack can probably tell you, it's 2 weeks away from the early action and early decision deadlines for college applications for those seniors applying. So definitely, that's in full swing, and a lot of stuff going on right now. For the fall play, One Man, Two Governors, that's also happening in 2 weeks. Performances will be the 27th, 28th, and 29th of October, and the play is currently working on marketing and constructing the set for the show. Changing gears a little bit, 2 weeks ago, Bernards High School had Spirit Week, which culminated in the homecoming dance and the homecoming game. At the game, Spirit Club provided pizza and glow sticks to the first 50 students who arrived, which was pretty cool of them. The National Honor Society peer tutoring program is now in full swing, so helping students adjust to the high school environment with academics. And on the more social side, the peer leadership program is helping them adjust socially and just with fun activities and icebreakers and stuff like that. Last Friday, Bernards High School had the pep rally and the student awards ceremony, which honored students who received honors on the foreign language exams, the AP exams, academic excellence from last year's school year, and also in community service. So I did not receive anything, but I got to watch all that. It was very cool to see everyone get their awards. At the student awards ceremony, senior Declan McParlin received the Eisenhower Leadership Award from the West Point Society of New Jersey. So if you know Declan and see him, definitely give him a shout out. Now on to sports. The Burns High School field hockey team is the undefeated division champion, so good for them. Boys soccer defeated Del Val 5-0, and their team record is 6-4-2. Couldn't find that for a second. The team record for girls soccer is 14-4, and they defeated Del Val, Hanover Park, and Summit recently, so they've been working really hard. The Burns High School Crimson, which is the school newspaper, just released their first issue of the year, and their big article on the first page was reporting on the completion of the annex. So the old library turned into the annex. In other news, the media center is open before and after school, and it's a huge hit with students. A lot of students using it to study for tests that day, finish their homework. Everyone that I've talked to who uses it really loves taking advantage of that. So that's all I have. If you guys have any questions for me.
Any questions for Jack?
Yes.
Declan's Award, tell me that again, what was it?
That was the Eisenhower Leadership Award from the West Point Society of New Jersey.
So it wasn't yet an appointment beforehand?
I don't believe so.
Can't hurt them.
No, definitely not.
Jack, just a couple of quick questions. The media center, is it getting a good amount of use in the after-school hours?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I directed a play last year, and we used one of those big group rooms to work after school there. And during that, and also this year, a lot of students using it for homework. Group projects is a big thing because you don't want to have to travel to someone's house, which might be out of the way, so everyone's already in school. Might as well take advantage of the media center.
And then, with respect to the homecoming dance, how was the attendance at that? I've sort of heard varying reports that it wasn't particularly well attended.
I know that it wasn't particularly well attended, but from the people that run it, I helped suggest me and some other students helped suggest some marketing tools, so hopefully for their next dance they're going to rebrand a little bit.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing, because those social events bringing the students together are always a good thing.
Definitely.
Built on the culture. The one last thing while you're here, and you might not know the answer to this, marching band is like unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, and those guys work their tails off, right? You know, I mean, they're out there 24 hours a day. You know, obviously their hard work is rewarded. Do you know if many of those guys go on to play marching band in college?
You know, I can't answer to that, but I can check with some people because I know a lot of marching band
Just
people.
be interested.
Get back to you. I'm sure that some of them do with their record. They're very good. Yeah, definitely.
That's it.
Any other questions?
Yeah, the school store, I should be asking Brandy or Nancy this, but the school store downstairs, has that
Yes.
been opened yet? Is that?
I can't speak to
It's
that.
not open yet.
It's not open yet, okay. Are students aware that it will be? Has that been publicized? Or is that just-
Not yet, 'cause we're
is that
not
just
ready.
Spring that on
Yeah.
everybody?
No, they're working, yeah.
But I did know last year, I don't know where it started, but people did know about it. People definitely said they would buy stuff from there when it was made available.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
So at this point, yeah, we're going to let our two Jacks go home because they have
Thank you.
work to do. Thank you
Thank you.
again.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So at this point, I would like to give the required violence and vandalism report. And this is from 2016-17. It's the second reporting period, which is January 1st to June 30th, 2017. At the high school, there were 12 cases of substance abuse, 1 situation of violence, 1 case of vandalism, and 1 HIV confirmed incident. At the middle school, there was 1 incident of violence, vandalism, and violence, vandalism, weapons, and HIV. And I want to clarify that a weapon also includes the small, the flip knives that one was brought into school. The student said that it was a pocket knife, thank you, that it was in his bag, he forgot to remove it, but the administration called his parent and brought the parent in. The student was still given discipline for having it, and the knife was returned, the pocket knife was returned to the parent. I just want to clarify that because it does count under weapons. And there were also 3 HIV confirmed incidents at the Bedwell School. Bedwell. And then we're going to move on. Jen's going to give a report on pathways to graduation, and she'll explain what that
Right,
is.
so these are how our students graduated last year. There was a menu of different possibilities for how students could graduate, if you remember that, part of the park movement. This will change as park becomes a requirement, but these are the ways that our students, and this is a requirement for us to report on this every year. So students graduated through park assessment. 28 of our students graduated using the park assessments. 137 of our students graduated with substitute competency tests. These would be like their ACTs, their SATs, Accuplacer, PSATs. So if they had those scores, they could then use that as their graduation requirement. 0 students needed to graduate with the portfolios appeals, which is kind of a last case if they haven't been able to pass through other possible avenues. 11 students graduated through alternate requirements specified in their IEPs. 29 students graduated through multiple pathways, meaning that they met the SAT requirement for math, but the park requirement for English, or the other way around. So that's it.
Can we ask a question about the pathway?
Oh, sure. You can ask questions.
Okay, so you're saying of the full class that graduated last year, only 29 graduated via the park?
They chose, so remember there was a whole menu, and then they could say if they took it with the PSATs, they were using that as their graduation, if they met that requirement, then that would be their way of graduating.
Okay, so the student decides which is their pathway to graduation, or the guidance?
So some students may not have taken the park. They may have said, I'm going to pass the PSAT score or the SAT score, and then just didn't take one or the other of the park. It may change once park is a graduation requirement, but at this point, they weren't necessarily using that as their graduation pathway.
And you said last time the 9th graders that are currently in school now,
Class of 2021.
the park is their pathway to graduation?
Yes, as of now.
As of now. So the SAT and ACT, do we ever, because I asked this I think last time, what were the minimum?
You can look on our website. It's posted on the website. I won't know
You
off
don't
the top
know?
of my head.
Okay.
The scores change each year.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. They might want more AC, the numbers be higher, or?
Well, because it depends on who took it, what the scores of the class that took it before were. You know how that goes.
Okay.
No, Shepard's not here.
No.
Okay.
You're going to put it up here?
I'm going to put it up there, yeah. This is the PowerPoint.
Jen's going to introduce the strategic plan.
Oh, yeah. We're a little bit further back, so it might be hard for people to cover.
Try it again.
Something that makes me even nervous. I know.
This one on now? Yeah.
So, okay. So the presentation tonight is the strategic plan proposal. I'm going to start with some of the background so people can remember how this process began. So 5 members of the Board of Education began a meeting back in March of 2017, or 2016, I'm sorry, to design a strategic plan process with the New Jersey School Boards Association. We then gathered information from our different municipalities. This was the state of the community. Lou presented at various evenings and daytimes. We presented to the Board of Education the information that we collected through the state of our school, or state of our community. Then we also collected information about the state of the schools. This included our human resources, curriculum and instruction, school climate, facilities and finance. This was reported through the same avenues with the state of the community. We had over 70 responses, some more in the state of the schools that came back from our survey that was administered back in March. And then all information was then posted up on the website, and that was how we kind of started our strategic planning process. So then we invited the community to become involved in strategic planning. We had 3 sessions. Our first session was April of 2017. We focused on the strengths and challenges. 35 members of our community came out. This included district staff and also Board of Education members, local mayors. And our goal there was for us to really think and brainstorm within groups what were the areas of strength and what are some areas of growth that we could look at for the district. We also looked at the summary of the survey results and tried to analyze what we could see as patterns in those. Session 2 was on May 2nd, 2017. And in this session, 41 people came, so a few more. And we created a vision. In this, if some of you may remember, we created our mission statement. We voted on that. We also broke out into groups and brainstormed some expectations for the district and looked at maybe what are our shared vision going forward. Session 3 on May 15th, we then kind of really got down to looking at the details of some priority goals. Identified these goals and then came up with some objectives. And then all of this information was then translated onto the web, but was then, and that's our mission statement, a mission of the Somerset Hills School District is to provide an authentic and balanced learning experience for each student by harnessing the power of innovation and an engaged community to create thoughtful and impactful local citizens. So I think we voted on this one last time. Our goal areas from that last meeting, we decided to focus on health and wellness, community and civic engagement, 21st century skills, teaching and learning, and finance and facilities. And then what happened was all this information was delivered, and this was part of our planned process, to the school administrators. And this summer we met multiple times and we organized all the different goals and activities and ideas that people had into an action plan. And board members can see the written plan here in front of you. We looked at what are the major activities that were proposed by the community members. We then thought of what are our indicators of success if we achieve those major activities. Who would be the responsible staff, administration, teachers, HSA. We considered resources, budget, grants, capital reserve, consultants, possible grants from CHEF, our current facilities, professional development, and then constraints. Do we have funding, our school schedule, staffing, facilities, and time? And then also considered what could be the possible timeline. Looking at 3 years, that was our original idea with this plan. Some of these things may have to go beyond that if they can't fit into the 3-year period. So these are what we came up with. And right now this is a proposed plan, and I'll talk about in the end where this needs to go next. But for health and wellness, our goal was to expand health and wellness opportunities for our students and staff. And what we did was we tried to look at, as administrators, all of the different ideas that people had, and we tried to incorporate them within some goals. So we tried to collapse them, and I think we did a great job of really pulling together all the ideas and finding a place for everything that was recommended from the community. The 3 goals, the 3 activities under the goal would be to provide professional development opportunities to support wellness. This would be like workshops, mindfulness training. We also want to enhance our curriculum to support wellness. PE curriculum and health curriculum needs to be rewritten, has already started. Alternative grading system, there was a discussion of changing the grade 5 report card. and then also moving forward with our wellness curriculum that's in the middle school. We also are looking at the activity of examining opportunities for cultural responsiveness, partnerships with programs and organizations, professional development opportunities, culturally diverse activities, events that include families. Unified sports was also mentioned, that's sports that include special needs students, and also expanding service learning. Our next goal under health and wellness was to create inviting and safe learning environments. The 3 activities were explore and enhance wellness spaces. There are a lot of spaces that we're looking at to try to do some more with. The cardio room at the high school, the BMS recess area, the guidance suite, the wellness room at the elementary school, use of our courtyards, and vocational skills learning school anxiety spaces. We also wanted the activity of evaluate 5th grade programs and activities. Talked a little bit in the other goal about the grade 5 report card. Student survey results need to be examined, and the 5th grade recess could be expanded. Develop learning experience for students with anxiety and alternative learning needs. School anxiety spaces would be a measure of that success, and vocational skills learning spaces increased. So our second goal area was community and civic engagement, enhancing our community and family engagement and outreach. So our 3 activities that we would like to focus on are enhancing communication with community and families. This would be about distributing the newsletter maybe to the entire community, utilizing social media and technology outlets in new ways, expand the community and family events. This is like our speaker series, our screenings, which have been, the few that we've done have been, had some good turnout. Presentations, more curriculum presentations, parent workshops, open houses. Enhancing communication and offerings to our non-English speakers within the community. Parent nights, there's one tomorrow night, the bilingual night. Organizing some events, local group connections, HSA connections, parent community, and then translating documents. Our next goal area is 21st century learning skills. Experiences we want to encourage throughout the district. Under this goal, 2, leveraging our opportunities for authentic learning. This was something that was talked a lot about in some of our community meetings. This would be experiences that are virtual, local, or even global. We would like to create some more partnerships. That was a suggestion I think that Janice had been talking about. Innovative, authentic learning experiences, more extracurricular opportunities, also supporting digital citizenship. Curricular revisions could be done to support this goal, program opportunities, and there's some talk about some new courses, possibly at the middle school, and then even professional development. Second goal for 21st century learning skills is supporting our STEM initiatives. An activity would be enhancing technology and engineering education opportunities. We've started improving our materials, but we would like to do more curriculum revisions, some new courses. There's some already in the works being proposed. Also enhance our science education opportunities, encouraging some more materials, some curriculum revisions and learning. Enhance mathematics education opportunities. This would be indicated by additional learning, supplemental learning resources, and professional learning. So under the area of teaching and learning, looking at recruit, retain, and support professional staff within the district. 2 areas of activities would be to continue to recruit and retain highly qualified educators through the renewal of staff, looking at that process, and also creating some more outside partnerships, possibly with universities, to attract new teachers. Also continue to enhance our professional learning opportunities. We have many, but there's always room to grow. Poster sessions for our PLCs. We're thinking about doing that activity at the end of the year so teachers can share out what they've learned. Professional learning agendas need to be collected and organized so that we can review what's working well. Our PDI offerings, or something that's our Professional Development Institute after school, where teachers teach other teachers. This is something we continue to want to expand. And then looking at our workshop attendance. The other area in teaching and learning is meeting students' learning needs through authentic and innovative programs and environments. The 3 activities are expand, innovative, and authentic teaching and learning. And you'll see some overlap with the other one. This would be professional development, transdisciplinary projects. That's something that the middle school has been interested in. Curriculum revisions, more extracurricular activities, and assessment practices improvements. Enhance the visual arts program. This was something else that came up in the community. Curriculum revisions, we also are thinking about some for next summer. We need to do some more professional development opportunities if we want to look at improving our art program, student showcases, and extracurricular opportunities in this area. Creating innovative and flexible spaces. So Chef is already offering us some grants to do this work. There is some talk about using some more, creative ways for classroom environments, new seating, flexible spaces with different kinds of furniture, stand-up desks are the kinds of things that people are looking at, and then even the extended use of the new BHS wing. Under finance and facilities, we want to maximize and enhance learning and wellness spaces. This would begin with the renovation of the middle school media center, and that needs to be fleshed out of what that project will look like. Purchase of innovative and flexible furniture to support these activities. Again, there's some overlap with the other. Explore relocation, renovation, and enhancement of our STEM facilities. We've talked about that at the high school and making a STEM wing. And then explore and enhance our wellness space. Again, these are our cardio rooms, recess areas, and guidance area. And then finally, for finance and facilities, update and enhance the district facilities. We've been talking for a while, right, about increasing parking, Bedwell parking expansion, exploring other parking, increase and update security, looking at our security cameras within our buildings and securing access. Also explore and expansion and improvement of our safe playing fields, permanent lights on Alcott Field, expansion of the lower and the Chestnut Field. So this really encompasses all of the ideas that were recommended. So Lou and I have been talking, and the next steps really need to be that facilities needs to begin by looking at their areas to see what's realistic. Curriculum committee needs to look at teaching and learning, 21st century, and the wellness areas to see what is can be implemented. Then this needs to go to finance committee to see what can fiscally, be implemented within the next 3 years. A final timeline, there were some recommendations that the board members see for timeline for some of this, but these, need to really be looked at further in terms of what we have in terms of finances. And then a final plan should be pulled together for the full implementation of this once it goes through these committees. Is there any questions? Yeah, Tim.
Question. Will the slides that were presented to the board, not those, both those slides and the other slides that I have in front of me, are they going to be posted to the website?
Well, yes, these are the proposals. This is a draft, because now it has to go back to the committee, so this isn't the final plan.
Right, I know it's not the final plan, but the
Can we put this on the website? Oh, sure.
Yeah, there's just more details in here that I think people will find informative.
Right, it's just hard to put all that up on the PowerPoint.
For sure.
Sure.
It's hard enough to read what you put
Yes,
up there
yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
But
Yeah, we
this
can
is
put it up
good,
on the
so
web.
this will be up on the web as well.
Yep, no problem. Okay.
Oh, and one last thing. We talk about STEM and we talk about STEAM, so we've got to settle in on the arts there.
Well,
so.
we have the arts in there. Did you
It
see
should be.
that? So,
I'm just noting the,
Yeah, we do have
two.
both in there. Yep, absolutely.
With the BMS recess area, do you guys have recess at your middle school?
Yes,
For 5th, 6th,
just 5th and 6th.
just 5th and 6th have
Yes.
recess? And so what is the, so you're talking about the BMS resource area, that's just for 5th and 6th, you're gonna,
Yeah, so the area right now, I don't know if you know where it is.
No.
There's some questions about its usefulness. It's kind of behind the school, near the dumpsters. It's, you know,
The small area.
it's a small area.
and you're saying that you want to change the 5th grade recesses up?
It's not me, so this isn't me. Yeah, so this is the whole
I'm saying
community.
that, because you presented it, and
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm addressing you in particular, because you did the presentation. So the group who did it, which you're presenting, want to change the 5th grade recess. I was just wondering, what does that mean? Do you have 5th grade, you
They're
have 5th
trying
grade
to
recess?
make it
They want to
better.
expand.
They would like to make it better,
Because
yeah.
it's, you know, like she said, it's in a smaller area, so we're trying to explore areas, like how can we break out of that area where it's safe and we have a
Expand
place
it.
for them and.
Okay, because you had two, you had BMS resource area, and then you said 5th grade recess. So it's maybe,
In general, because we'd like to expand it up 7th and 8th grade.
oh, okay, that's what you're trying, okay. Oh, that's wonderful.
They have like, so, I'm sorry, they have time to be social, but we don't have enough, like.
Not enough time? How much time do you have for recess?
Well, it's part of, well, I'm talking about 7th and 8th though, as part of their lunch.
Oh, okay, we do that, yeah, we do that, but
But
fifth and
fifth has,
sixth-
no, fifth has a built-in recess stuff. I'm not sure, is it 20 minutes, something like that? So they get out to run around a little bit, but your son was just in. Is he fifth now? He's in sixth or fifth?
He's in 6 now.
Okay, so do you remember how long recess was? I want to say it was like 15
I think
or
20, yeah.
Yeah.
We got
Fifth
some
grade is,
other-
right, it's just attached to their lunch, right?
Every grade has the same lunch.
Yeah, it's like.
Oh, all of them
20
attached to the lunch?
Depending on
Yeah,
how
all
they
attached
eat.
to lunch.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what we
No,
do.
no,
We have
that's
the lunch.
what
Oh,
we
okay.
do, yeah.
Oh, we should just call our recess and just say it's attached to lunch, okay?
See, you can learn something.
Yeah, we did. I just did. Because we do it, we just don't say it's recess, but now we
Yeah,
just.
still there's.
Yeah.
So Jen, I have a few,
Used to be able to go out.
few questions, sorry.
Sure.
Under action plan, you talked about it having indicators of success.
Mhm.
I was just wondering if any thought was given to having a dashboard so that people could go on and monitor progress, something like green, yellow, red, in terms of how we're progressing on that goal.
So that didn't come out through the community meeting, so this was just a collaboration. I think that was something that came out recently through Park, but, you know, this is all based on, back on those community meetings from those 3 meetings.
Right, okay. But I'm just curious, I mean, do you think something like that could possibly be available?
Well, I think that the college profile is definitely something, I don't know if you've got a chance to look at that yet. You know, maybe that's something that people could look at as a measurement of a dashboard.
What are you, I don't.
I think-
I'm
I
talking
think
about
it's
as a
about-
dashboard for how we're
Oh, for
progressing
this?
on our.
Okay. Oh, I was confusing it with what you were saying
No, I'm
before.
sorry. No, if we actually had a dashboard for how we're progressing on each of these goals.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I've just seen it's very simple, green, yellow, red, just so that the community
yeah.
understands how we're,
Sure.
you know,
I was
progressing
confusing it
toward
with
the
the
goal
other
line.
dashboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with that, and I just sort of want to reiterate that we did talk about that dashboard from the academic standpoint, so we definitely want to make sure we have a path forward on that. There was a fair amount of community engagement. I mean, sort of, it's always hard for people's weekly schedules. Is there a mechanism for community engagement on an ongoing basis with respect
That's up to you all.
execution?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, however it gets implemented, I think, harnessing some of the parents and other members of the community in each of the 3 schools around some of these isolated, topics would be really, really helpful. I'm just like noting the speaker series and those other things for those of us who were at that opioid event, and it's very, very powerful. And there's a lot of parents who spend a lot of time bringing in, speakers and other activities. And I just think it's like, we've got a phenomenal community. We should embrace them and get them engaged. It shouldn't just be a one-time shot. So we should figure out a way, Lou, if we can, to get the community engaged as we execute against the plan.
Sure.
And I
Yeah,
agree,
they-
Tim. I think periodically, too.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, with the strategic plan, I've seen a communication plan that actually runs in parallel to that
So,
strategic
and
plan.
I did
So
try,
maybe-
I sent out an email to all of those that were involved in this, invited them to this evening. Got a couple, right? So, hopefully more will come out in the future.
Bob? I want to thank you for spearheading this. It's a lot of work and a lot of time spent this summer putting this all together, putting the goals together and the activities that we have to look at. But now it's going to go back to, like you said, all our committees to see which one of these are realistic goals and can be accomplished in the time frame we're looking for, and the funding available. Some of them may be no funding available and you can implement immediately. Some may have some long-range plan that you're going to have to budget for in this budget, the next budget, and a budget after that to accomplish it. So the work is really going to start
And that's
now
right,
too.
Lou. Yep.
So I think these have to go back to our committees to hone down as to what we think can be accomplished, what the finance committee think can be accomplished in the budget process for next budget, the budget after that, and the budget after that, and then come back to the board. And then you can approve a plan and go to the communications and all those things you want to do. But I think you have to really do a little more work on this to see which one of these activities and goals that you really can do in the 3 years that you want to do. Some may be longer than 3 years to accomplish, but I think that's what the committees need to do now, and then come back during budget process to say, here's what we want to do for the strategic plan.
Right. I think
That's our
that
committee's portion of it.
what
So-
exists now is fully encompassing of
Right, this
everything
is
that
everything,
was recommended.
this is the big wish list from the community. Now it's up to the committees now to look at this and say, this is no cost to this, we can implement next year. Or this has a long lead time, a long cost, a lot of cost that has to be budgeted for in the next budget cycle, so.
Where are we at now? Are we doing anything with the unified sports? Is that, I
There
know
is
it's
some
in here.
movement,
but-
yeah. There's already some movement on that. We have a couple students that have joined our sports programs, and I think that's something we would like to move forward with and do more with.
Because this is something we should be pushing now and involving as many of our students
And I would
as
say,
possible. in these.
and that's true with a lot of the objectives here too, that there are a number of them have already had some movement, we're already thinking about, we can already start trying to do some work in all these areas, and that's one that's already started. Yeah.
Can we be kept abreast as to what's going on with that? It seems like that's...
So through curriculum,
Okay,
that would happen.
okay.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry, one more.
Yeah, sure.
So I noticed under wellness,
Yes.
it was really the 5th grade that was called out, and I know that there's an ongoing program. Is the thought that we'll just continue with the 5th grade, or do you see it
It's also in
expanding?
7th grade this year. So
Okay.
in the second semester, 7th grade wellness class also now starts. And then we would like to expand it to 6th and 8th grade.
Okay, so I was wondering.
I mean, and that's what
Didn't you
they,
say the reason for that was because when they sent out the selections for electives, since they just had it in 5th, they wanted something else in 6th. So that's why they bumped it up to 7, because, it wasn't a novelty anymore. So they wanted to try something new. So then we moved it to 7, because, okay, we don't want it to wear out its welcome with. So we're just testing it, to see, yeah.
Any other questions?
I'm really excited about all this. I hope you all are too. I mean, there's a lot of great things in here, and I think it could be a lot of interesting and excitement for the district.
Would you mind if I open it up to the public?
Oh, sure,
Questions on
absolutely.
strategic planning?
Absolutely.
On the strategic planning process, if anyone has a question?
It's not a question, but I second what Tim was saying. I think it's important to continue the collaboration because, we worked hard on it as, members of the public, and to see it through to the end, I think it would be beneficial on both
And helpful.
sides.
I think
Absolutely.
I think during the last strategic plan, I think after a year or so, we brought everybody that was part of it back and said, here's where we are, and here's what we've accomplished, here's what we have left to do, and what our timeframes are. And we also set up like year 1, year 2, year 3, what we wanted to get done. And then every year we updated it as to, we did that, or that moved from year 2, it moved to year 3 because of, because of funding, because of whatever it was that made it move from one year to the other. So I think that's back to your dashboard thing and concept, but we also brought the public that was involved in it back, or anyone that was interested in coming back, to see where we were with updating it on a yearly basis.
Yeah.
As to where
I
we
would
were.
just encourage us to make that a little bit more dynamic.
Right.
And frequent and engaged rather than sort of a reporting mechanism,
Mhm.
sort of an engagements, see if there's a way that we can sort of collaboratively do things. There's a lot of creative people around here that can come up with ideas that we all know we're budget constrained at times, right? And all the time. So, people may have ideas, they may have things they can pull together. So if we can make it a little bit more iterative, collaborative through the entire process, I think would be good. Particularly when you have people who show up to a board meeting and want to do it. That's a good, anybody who shows up, good. It's all good.
Yes.
I just want to ask, in the past, like every year there's a plan and every year you do your best to get to it. So what are some of the typical roadblocks that you face when,
And the plan isn't done yearly. This is, strategic plans are done, in long range, yeah.
But some of those roadblocks, if you thought you could accomplish, like I was saying, some things have no cost associated, like a recess area. We just have to identify maybe an area where we can expand the recess area. So there's no cost to that, so that can be done fairly quickly and in the first year. But some things may, like the Chestnut Field is developing another playing field, would be more of a long-range plan to try and get funding for a new field area behind the middle school. And things like that. So funding is probably going to be your biggest roadblock to some of these things.
In terms of teaching and learning, we'll also get influenced by the state changing, and any initiatives that they're changing may influence how the plan moves forward. And that's what happened, I think, in some of the last plan.
Yeah.
There were some ideas, but then some big changes happened, including Common Core, new curriculum initiatives from the state. So some of those ideas got moved aside.
Also, being on the last strategic plan committee, I remember one of the ideas that people put forth when we were going through it was that every single student would have an individual education plan. And while that would be wonderful, it just wasn't feasible. So when we met a year later and we discussed different things, that was one that came up that said, time-wise, it would be impossible, cost would be impossible, you have to have meetings afterwards. It just was an impossibility. So even though it sounded like a great idea at the time, as you went down the road, it just wasn't feasible, so something like that.
Does the strategic plan get communicated to all the teachers and staff?
So that would be the rollout. So once it goes through the curriculum and the facilities committees, then we can really have a solid plan that we're moving forward with, and then the teachers need to be informed of all this, and that would be through faculty meetings. Good point.
They would seem to be critical.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jen.
The next item on our agenda is public questions and comments, and we very much welcome your input from the public. Public comments are welcome at this time on any agenda item. Towards the end of the meeting, there will be a second public forum on any topic. Please state your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board feels there is a misunderstanding or an inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent may address the comment. In accordance with New Jersey state statute, the board will not discuss matters regarding specific personnel. Public questions and comments will be limited to 30 minutes. And thank you for your input. So if there's anybody that has a question or comment on agenda items, please come up to the podium.
Sam Habibi, 8 Mosley Road, Gladstone. Mr. Palmer, you had mentioned the 2 people who wrote correspondences to the board, and you
Yes.
said, I just want some clarification on what you were saying. I didn't quite understand what you said in regards to the resolution.
I said it's our concern in the interest of the school district, we need to be compliant with the law. And our school district follows all regulations for admission. So if someone's admitted to our school or comes to the district and wants to be enrolled, we have certain criteria for admission, which says that they're legal, residents in one of our communities, that they have a lease or a mortgage or a tax bill, they have the utility bills, they have whatever our requirements are for admission. And that's what we're following for any admission to the district. So if somebody comes with all our criteria for being admitted,
Right.
we admit them to the school, and they have every safe haven that the district can do by law.
Okay. All right.
So we protect any student that is legally registered in the
Within-
district.
okay.
And we just went through the, was it last year? We re-registered everybody to make sure that everybody has all the required documentation for being a registered student.
Okay, well, because my original concern way back when, before June, when I came, was what would happen if someone was to come to the school property or premises and ask for a student, and was in some kind of law enforcement position. So just wanted to know what would happen with the school. Would they let the child be released to that officer?
It would be situational. I mean, that's highly doubtful because normally, I mean, we do have to comply with the law, and but normally, like, nobody's allowed to, police are not allowed to just come into the building and go through the building. You have to report to the principal's office, and there would be protocols followed, as in, why did you want the student, calling the student's parents, the whole, and actually, if that scenario were to occur, we would call the school district attorney and pretty much get step-by-step instruction on that, to make sure that we were protective of the students' rights, but also, following the statutes of the state of New Jersey.
Okay.
So it would be one of those situations.
Right, and then
But nobody would be allowed to go to a classroom and pull a student out, or just come tell the principal, I'm going to take a student. That would not happen.
Okay, so I remember when this was the big conversation at the long-range meeting, was wellness and the safety and security of kids in school. And in order to learn, you have to feel safe and secure, but wouldn't this just be an awesome additional reassurance you could give to kids, whether they're at the high school, middle school, or elementary school, and for parents to know that when they send their kid to school, that they're just have a little extra reassurance that their kids are going to be safe in that school. That was my only, extra concern. And I'm not sure I feel, like I said, it's not like this school board has not passed any other resolutions. You have passed another resolution. I'm not sure I feel comfortable with the answer that I was given, so I will take it to phase 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move to approval of minutes. Yeah, I could move. I'd like to move, if you want me to move them. It's just the September 20th Board of Education minutes.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Baker?
Abstain.
Mr. Giuliano.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoppy?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Ms. Sui?
Yes.
Mrs. Tover?
Yes.
Ms. Virtue?
Yes.
Ms. Birch?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Finance.
The Finance Committee met yesterday at 4 o'clock, and we talked about several things, so I'll give a report of what we talked about. Our financial audit was just completed, and the books were just printed. We will have a presentation by the partner from the audit firm next meeting, which will be on November 15th. So he will make sure all the board members have the booklets in advance, so you can look through them. They're the typical two booklets that we have every year, and we'll look through those, and you can ask a lot of questions, and he'll do a nice presentation for us on that. Second item, we talked about possibly increasing, how we compensate substitutes at Bedwell. Bedwell substitutes are getting harder to find. other than giving a trip to Hawaii. We're not sure what to do.
True.
But I was going to donate my frequent flyer points, Joe, but I was shot down on that idea. Anyway, we kicked around a lot of ideas, and we came up with an idea which has to go to personnel to get, is the wording right and make sure.
Actually, bottom of this stuff, it's on the addendum.
Oh, it's on the addendum?
Put it on there.
Oh, you put it on there, I'm sorry, I thought.
Because we desperately needed, we didn't want.
Yeah, we didn't
Oh,
want to wait.
you went, I'm sorry. Oh, there it is, okay.
Start early
All right,
with
so,
those points.
so I will, so it says on the addendum that, so it's like a loyalty program, is the best way to describe it. If you work 5 days, you get a 6-day free. It's kind of cool. So, because, you know, explaining about the task of taking care of children in the lower grades is a lot more challenging than the higher grades from, it's a long day. You're with the kids all day, not enough breaks as opposed to high school or middle school. So we're going to try this out and see what happens. So if somebody wanted to work, if they work 5 days in November, they would get the check for the 6th day, okay, which is, the current rate is 105 for standard cert, 95 for a sub-cert, so they would get that extra. So that way, they're encouraged. We could have just raised the rate, but we decided that would not be good in the long term. So this is a loyalty program. It's like a frequent flyer program, you know? It's kind of unique. I'll thank Kathy for coming up with this great idea. This is her idea.
Kathy's idea, and a good one.
Yeah, what? That's good. Great idea. Joe says a good idea. There you go. So we're going to try that, and if it doesn't work, we'll revisit it. I mean, we get substitutes, but we don't get enough, and they have to scramble and get teachers to fill in. It's not a good thing. So hopefully this will work. Second item, the third item we talked, there's a resolution here about the food service. The New Jersey Agricultural Department, right, Nancy?
Yes.
They said that we should get our food service on a flat fee basis. And New Jersey school boards and other school boards say that makes no sense. The way we do it now works fine. So we pay them for what they use. Very simple. If they spend $20,000 a week, we pay $20,000 a week. You know, we don't say, well, we're going to pay you $500,000 for the whole year, and if they only spend $400, well, then they make another $100. So this resolution is just supporting schools across New Jersey that's a dumb idea, whoever passed that law. Okay? And I don't know who it is. But anyway, so that's what that is. And then we talked about, it's the budget process, so the budget process has just started. All the administrators have been sent a memo to start compiling all their costs for next year. And so we will have a draft budget by the end of the year, and we'll go through the normal budget process, which will take us all the way up to April. So we're starting that budget process. We got a school safety grant for $5,200, and that's because Nancy goes to courses and learns how, from the insurance company, how we can make our schools safer. So we get a $5,000 grant, which we can spend on school safety issues. And the last thing we talked about was where we are with the Bedminster tuition. Okay? And with that, I would like to move items 1 through 11. We're removing item on your agenda, we're removing item number 8 and renumbering it. Item number 8, we don't have enough information to move on that yet. We're looking for more information. So I need, well, that's actually under personnel. So even though I talked.
Oh, yeah, the Bedwell stuff is on Thursday.
Yeah, even though it's on, yeah, you're going to vote on that with all the personnel issues, okay. So I need a
Need a
second.
second.
Second, Greg, second. Anybody have any questions on what I just rambled on about?
I have two. My first one, you said you talked about the Bedminster tuition. Can you tell us what you talked about?
We just want to know, we asked Lou what the status was, if he's had any correspondence.
Talk a letter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. What's your second question? 'Cause I
Second
had some
question
questions
was,
also.
second question was, I was confused. Number 10 is approved stock payment checks. There's a bunch of them. It's like, what, over $100,000 worth of stock payment checks? I was just wondering, I mean, like, back to 2014, I wasn't sure what that is. I haven't seen it before, and I've been on the board for like 5 years, so I was just wondering, what is it?
These are just void checks that need to be voided, and what happened was we went through a change, if you remember from last time, where we no longer use the treasurer of school monies. He used to do the reconciliations. So in that process, we brought it all in-house, and we looked at all the reconciliations. These were checks that have been old outstanding checks that we've been carrying for some time. In some cases, they were in fact reissued. Actually, in many cases, they were reissued, but they were still, there was this old outstanding checklist, and you have to officially remove them. So now that we're all caught up, we'll do this on a regular basis. And you should do it in your district too, like at least once a year. So if it hasn't been done, it probably should be done.
You probably do it, I mean, because I look at 2014.
Yeah, well,
Why would you just, you know,
It's ridiculous.
that's
I mean,
2017 now, and you're doing a stock payment on
So
2014.
let me clarify, it should, if we really should just change the resolution, it should be approved void checks. They're not all, we're not issuing stop payments on all these checks.
Oh,
like
so
from
the-
a banking
okay,
sense.
so
We could
that's
just probably, like, good point, we should probably just change the word on the title, and just put approve voiding the following checks.
Okay.
Or removing the outstanding checks from the outstanding checklist, but let's say void, approve voiding the following checks.
Oh, and this is all the stuff you got when
Yeah, it kind of came to light, I mean, most of these are agency checks, some of these are on, they're from a variety of different bank accounts, and they just were carried on this list for a really long time, so now we've tightened up the list to, reduce the outstanding.
Okay, but so from this, because the banks wouldn't take the checks anyway, right?
No,
It's after so
correct.
many.
They're
Okay.
stale after 90 days.
And most of these checks you said were reissued anyway, so you did.
Yes, in many
there was some-
cases, they're reissued, not all, some people just, believe it or not, just don't cash their checks, so, but.
So how much of the, I mean,
I
what
have no
funds,
idea.
is that part of the money's left over, like in that 1.2 million that you had left over, is it some of that?
Many of these came out of, some of them came out of payroll, some of them are out of agency. I can't really say whether this, I don't think so, because that would mean that there was a budget flow through and these would have already been expended in another way. So I would say no, these are not part of fund balance. They're just checks that are written off, that they've already been handled in another way as far as the expenditure.
Okay, so the money's gone, it's just these checks are out there.
Right.
Okay, okay. Because it's a bunch of them.
It is.
Okay, that's my question.
Okay,
Bob, I'm sorry, I have one question. Number 8, did you say that was removed?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
It was removed. Oh, and one thing I just want to say, item number 12, which is now item number 11, that was our chef's grant. So I want people to know we got $13,715 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 specific items in Bedwell, the middle school and the high school. So those are all listed there. We were supposed to have a chef person here tonight to highlight that, but unfortunately she couldn't make it, I guess. So.
Thanks, Bob, for pointing that out.
Okay.
Kathy, did you have a question, or was that?
Oh, that was it.
Oh, okay, great. Monica, we're talking about the Bedminster tuition. Where do we stand with the information that we've given to your consultant that they requested?
I don't know, I'll find out. We have a meeting tomorrow, so
Okay.
we haven't actually got back with you guys on
Yeah.
that yet? Okay.
No,
So
because we did have a letter sent out a long time ago that if you were going to do an audit, we asked it to be done by October 15, which we never received a response from. So if we've given him the
I
information.
think you got this, when did you get the information?
A few weeks ago.
Right.
2 weeks ago?
No, maybe longer than
I think it
that.
was the end of September.
End of
End of
September.
September.
So-
Well, it's about 2 weeks ago, end of September, right? Because
September,
October
yeah.
17th.
I'm not sure. It
Well,
was
around that time.
within a week of the time, was it within 7 days of the date that he asked it?
Okay.
Because that was, he did it under Oprah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, you have to have
I'm sort
it.
of remembering that it was like September 13th, but I'm not 100% sure of that date, so I don't
Okay.
want to misspeak.
So you just want to know what the results
Yeah,
were?
or
and-
what the plan is.
Okay.
Because they requested the information, we're looking to find out if he's finished with his, whatever he's doing with it. and
Okay.
If there's any questions. Because we've never received any written response to any of the letters that we've sent to Edmonds.
Okay, and I'll find out, because I don't, we might talk about it tomorrow, but we didn't talk about it last time, so I'll ask. But you didn't have it last time.
Yeah, the other question I have is, in the Burnersville News, there were some comments made that said that your board president has long been asking for backup to information about, I'm assuming, the tuition reconciliation. I'm not sure what that comment was about, but he said, long asked for backup for tuition calculation, and this has been given, every year we give.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if you remember.
I'm really confused about what he says that we're not giving him, so I'd like to know what we don't give him, because this is what's given to him every year after our audit is done. So if you want, that's this 15, 16.
Yeah, I think there was, I personally.
Gives us what the high school cost is,
Uh-huh.
and that's the number that's used for, per
That is
that
true.
number times student. So
Yes.
that's given to your business office
Yeah,
and your superintendent every year, so I'm not sure.
I just think he wanted, I think he had some additional questions. I know I did. I mean, I went through the whole thing too, and I had like, I don't know, 3-4 pages of it.
But to say that we don't give him information, we've never received anything in writing that he requested information. So
Okay.
I'm really concerned about an article that says we're not providing information. So if you can tell me what information we haven't
I will
provided
find out.
we will definitely get it to you, but I don't recall any information being requested. So
Okay.
I
So you're
don't
saying
want
if-
the public to get a perception that we don't give you the information.
Well, I mean, if it was said, there's probably something he did not get, right? But I'll find out to make sure, I don't know, maybe, I mean, I know personally, when I went through this, the April, when I had questions,
No, I understand if you have questions about the A41 or something like that, but I don't believe you had any specific questions that were requested from us, or information requested from us.
I just wanted to.
So we responded to any question I think that you've ever asked us, because we'd like to make sure that you have the information, so
Yeah,
that
I
you're
wanted to
comfortable with
actually
the number
sit
you
down
need to
and
pay us.
go over them, that's what I asked.
The other thing I take exception to is that you made a comment about us cooking numbers.
Who made a comment?
Your president.
Did you say you cook numbers?
Cooked the number that we didn't want you in the finance committee because we're gonna cook the numbers. So
I know I'm not in the finance committee,
No, I
I was
understand
taken
that.
out, right?
I understand
And
that,
you never
but-
want, and when it's
but we-
all, you know, Lou, when this gets down to money,
I
right?
understand.
Whenever you're in any situation, business, whatever, home,
Mhm.
and there is finance on the table, and you remove somebody from finance, there's always a question, what's going on,
There's-
right? I'm just saying, that's just the way it is. I was removed from finance.
The numbers are audited.
I was removed.
You have every right to audit them.
That's true, but the audit
It's
is,
a
audit
formula
is, that's what we're doing, right?
and-
We're auditing it, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so we're gonna go through it, we're gonna look at it and find out what's going on.
Exactly, right.
Well, you haven't audited yet, because you don't have an auditor, you have a
You have-
consultant.
We have a consultant who's
So you
a
get the
BA,
terminology.
who has a BA background.
I know,
We have
who's not an auditor.
who's has BA background,
Not
right?
an auditor, and you're
BA
requesting an
background.
audit.
And we have an auditor, so the gentleman who has a BA background, who's doing it, also was a superintendent for what, 25 years or so?
But
A BA, superintendent, teacher, so he's.
We have
pretty
our auditor
experienced.
and it's
Me
audited by.
too, but I don't have an auditing degree.
And you have a BA?
So I'm just saying.
Are you a BA? I didn't know that.
The point is
Are you
the
a
same.
Fran,
So the point is the
Fran,
same.
are you a BA
So the
too?
point is the same, that the cert is the cert. So if he's hired to be the consultant, then we agree, and that's why we gave him the information.
Again?
But to say, let me finish.
Okay.
And then
make
I'll
my
answer
comment.
your question.
And I'll make my comment.
Okay, but to say that you want an auditor to do it, and then to hire, to get an auditor approved, to have your auditor approved, but then to put a BA, superintendent for 25 years, blah, 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 but not an auditor, makes us suspect. And no, I wasn't a BA. That was one of the few things I haven't been, and I also don't do
That's good.
audits.
Well, the thing is that he also has experience as a send-receive superintendent. He did that for several years. There were a lot of changes that were made at the point, and he actually has experience. That's why we're using him. And another thing is, the end of the day, right, when you are looking at numbers actually pretty simple, right? You can see numbers. If he goes through and he sees there's some issues with the numbers, we can take it to an auditor and say, look at these numbers.
Yeah.
Because I can look at a number and tell the number's wrong. Most people can't. You got a number's not right, number should be this. You say, whoa, number's wrong. I even give it to my son. I bet he can figure it out if the number's wrong.
And we agreed
right?
about that last time.
Right.
Yes. Numbers are numbers are numbers. Right.
But we'd just like to know where you might be in that process.
And I'm going to let you know.
Looking at the numbers.
I'm going to let you know.
Because the other thing I'd like to point out, that if you see there that the 17, the information I gave you, gives us what our actual numbers are for each grade level.
Okay.
And I noticed that your pre-K one, which you approved last meeting, was $18,660 for kindergarten. Your 1 through 5 was $18,635, and your 6 to 8 cost for tuition is $20,605. So our tuition to you is $17,500 for a high school education. So, I mean, you're talking about numbers with us, that's a really high number.
And you know, Lou, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I actually brought that up at our meeting. Let me just finish, because I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is excellent. Because our numbers were high, and I was wondering why. And what happened is that they took the building in consideration. Transportation and all that stuff is taken into consideration. Because even the numbers that you have at 17.5, which is number we pay for students to come here, is not a true number of our students, our high school students, because we transport them, right? So that's considered. And also, Nancy had put some numbers up a while back that had 20,000. I said, well, how did that happen? But then I realized what it is. You take even the out of district and you add up the number. You take all the out. So if you might have an out of district of 5 million, let's say that's a lot, and then you have a certain number of students all in total, right? You take that 5 million, and you add it to the rest of the million. Then you take the number of students you have, and that makes the number bigger, because one student out of district may be 70,000 or whatever. So it's interesting how that's done. And that's why I have asked us to actually come back to me personally, because it's the same thing. I wanted to know why our numbers were, because 17.5 what we pay you guys is not indicative of what our students, we pay for our students, because we provide transportation. And also, we have administrations, people who work at Bedminster who do have a relationship with Somerset Hills to make sure that everything's okay with our students coming here. So that should be taken in consideration too. So there's a lot of little things I wanted. And also, since it is out of the Bedminster, and I thought, well, maybe even the building itself, some of that should be in the high school. When you do the whole high school, tuition calculation, because they're here, but we still have some of the people who work at the building are still, at the Bedminster. So the number of 17.5 is what we pay you guys. It's really higher what we pay for a student to come for a high school student.
I understand, but
yes. And even the same thing with these numbers here. I thought our numbers were a little bit high, but she told me there was other things we took in consideration. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I was wrong with that, because I was wondering why it was so high too.
Because I was looking at our numbers that we approved last month. Our 5 through 8 is $14,334. That's without transportation.
I know. And I was wondering when I looked at that.
So when we look at, you're looking at what our numbers are, I think, if you're paying $20,000 for, if I'm going to move my child to your school at a tuition rate, $20,000 seems like a lot for a 6th grader.
Yeah, but I think that's similar to what Nancy showed us, that you guys were 20,000 with when you take in consideration the building,
So you're saying that your
transportation.
numbers have transportation and all that?
I think so. I could be wrong though. I could be
That's not
wrong.
normally how you calculate.
Maybe
the
I'm wrong.
numbers.
I could be wrong. I just was trying to figure out why our numbers were high and why you had 20,000 up there and why.
For a tuition student, you shouldn't have the transportation in there, because they wouldn't be paying transportation to come to your school.
Oh, so where do you put that number? I mean,
That's a separate line.
okay.
Can I just, look, just two things. Number one is, Lou, the numbers that you're citing.
Yes.
These are numbers that are that have been cost that's set by the Bedminster Board for someone out of district coming in? So there's
Similar
no-
to what we do.
Right,
Not
just,
similar,
just
same
so
thing we
I'm
do.
clear, I just want to be
Right.
clear, so there's no
Yeah.
discussion or debate
No,
whether this
if you
or that is-
remember at our last meetings in September, we approved our tuition rates.
Okay, so-
Which were for first grade, it was $12,549.
Okay, so.
For second through fourth grade was $13,334.
Right.
5 through 8 was $14,340.
Okay.
And high school was a $17,500.
So the 14
And that's without any transportation. costs.
14,000,
I know, no,
just pause for 1 second if you would.
Yeah, I have another one for that.
The
Go.
14,000 that we charge for that middle school grade,
Yes.
what is the comparative charge that Bedminster assesses?
For 6 through 8, they charge $20,605 as their tuition
Okay,
rate.
so
If somebody
roughly a
comes,
$6,000
if somebody's looking to
difference.
come to Bernardsville,
Right,
somebody's looking to
right,
go
so-
to Bedminster on a
Yeah.
tuition
Okay.
basis.
I just wanted to make sure I
Right.
understood. So these are basically published rates
That's
set by the
what
board.
Bedminster
It's,
approved at
there's
the last
no,
meeting.
there's no apples and oranges. That's good. Just, can I just make one other observation? I don't know,
Why
Vinnie,
not?
what percent of the high school is from Bedminster?
1/3.
Yeah, it's about 30, a little over
It's
30.
258. Well,
So-
38, one or
so-
the other.
58.
You know,
58, yeah.
a key part of the high school, right? Like, and you see like Jack and these boys who come up here and girls who come up here and like, they're doing pretty amazing things at the high school. And we want to all be proud of the things that our students are doing and proud of the things that the teachers are doing.
Yep.
And I would just personally encourage you to pass along to your board to eliminate the incendiary rhetoric that's being published in media outlets. It's not constructive in any way, shape, or form. It's not conducive to a collaborative environment. Certainly not, shouldn't dignify the 30-some-odd% of the Bedminster students that are in the high school. Shouldn't be represented that way, right? I just don't, I think you're, effectively doing them a disservice. And I just think, as we move forward, and I really don't want to litigate.
Yeah, and I don't
just-
want to either, 'cause
All
I don't
I'm
think
saying
it's
is I would
affecting the
encourage,
students at
I
all,
would
really
encourage,
basically.
I would encourage a posture of collaboration
I would too.
and consideration.
Yes.
Okay? And not,
And I
not
think that
argumentative.
Thank you so
right,
much, Tim,
or
for saying that.
accusatory, or incendiary. I'm just making that observation.
I'm so glad that you said that. Thank you so much, because that is why we had that meeting in January to discuss the situation that we were having at our school with the board. And then from there, things just went downhill. We were asked to pay back this month that, there's a lot of things that happened. And we were getting these really interesting letters that at one point I had to ask us not to respond to, because I thought at a point in time, it was very negative. I felt that just personally. So I did feel that we should have a better relationship, and I wish we would, and I wish that at some point in time we could get them to sit down and we all talk about it. What I would love to have is another joint meeting with the two boards to talk about the situation, to build that relationship up, to make sure we sit down, we put down what the issues are, so we don't have like some of the people know one thing and some people, the rest of the group doesn't. I think everybody, I've been on this board, I respect everybody on this board, and I think we have some great people on this board. I love this school. I have one son who graduated through. I have one son who's going to be graduating through, so two. So I feel that we should actually probably meet again. I think we should build up the relationship, and that's one of the things we tried to do. That's why we had that meeting. We tried to do that. We came to you, we tried to do that, and that was not done.
Okay.
It was very, and Lou, you can say what you want, you can come over, but it's what I feel and what I'm hearing, just the fact that, Monica, you emailed me the time before, I don't want you on the finance committee because we'll discuss Bedminster tuition. Not saying, Monica, when we discuss Bedminster tuition, could you please leave the room? And I said, oh, yes, I can leave the room. Not take me off of it. So the negativity is both ways. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, let's go back to that $20,000 rate that we was talking about. And I'm so glad that you brought it up, because I forgot, and I'm telling you, there's so many things I forget as I get older. Wishly I could. One of the things that made the rate higher too is the number. We have a smaller school, right, and a smaller number of students to divide in the number. So, and I think that's one of the things that's always interesting, because when Well, so when our students came to the high school, we thought the number would be less because now you have a large number of students to divide in the number, right? But the high school cost is, what were you saying?
High school costs more.
Yes, it does, but if you have a large number of students, I mean, anything you think about numbers, like you got $2 million and you divide it by 10 students, that's more, right? You divide it by 100, that's less. Divided by 2, you understand what I'm saying? It's that budget, that overall budget. You want to watch this. It's a finance, and that's I think that's why we need to have a joint meeting, because this is what we want to do. We want to watch this budget. So when we divide this number into here, the number's not really so big, right?
We had the joint meeting, you.
Yes, I was there.
You
I was there.
pleaded your case. We got some letters from your board president afterwards, which were not
After the
received very
response
well.
to our meeting.
After the response.
Yeah, after the response.
And you just don't like the outcome of our response to the meeting.
Maybe that's it, but
So,
maybe
I
we
mean,
have,
it's a
maybe let's
formula.
have another one though.
But what's it gonna do? It's a formula. It's a formula.
Well, what
That's
happens
a
is that-
state-approved formula. It's
And
an audited formula.
The
that
state-approved
we-
formulas, what I've been told, is actually the highest formula any
And
district
this
can
community
put on a.
is not.
It is not.
It's the highest one.
It is not.
It actually is.
It is not.
It is.
It is not.
I was told it
Well,
was.
you're
Well,
wrong.
that's
So,
specific.
but what could happen is that you can actually go to a lower number, I was told too.
If this board decided they wanted to.
If
But
the board
if you
decided
were not
that.
on this board 10 years ago, when we had an outcry from our communities that
Yes.
said that Bedminster should not pay a penny more or a penny less, and that's when we went to the formula. Our community does not want to change that formula.
That's okay.
Our community
What we
is not
want-
going to change,
so what we're
not
gonna
going to change
do-
that formula. So there's no need for another meeting.
There you go.
It's the formula.
It's a relationship that we want to build.
Right.
And we want to make
we
sure
are
that-
providing any
And we want
information
to build-
just to make sure that formula
Okay.
is correct.
So
If
again,
there's a line item that's not right, we are glad to remove it. But
And-
we are not changing the formula,
okay.
and the formula is 17.5 times 258 students from Bedminster. We reconcile it at the end of the year. We give you that reconciliation
Yes.
at the end of the year, which is audited by our auditors. It's audited by the state auditors.
Yes,
Now,
but
if
the
your
numbers that
auditor-
you put in each one is not audited, right? I mean, you put the numbers
Yes.
in, do they go through like, oh, they do? I didn't realize that. So you have
It's
all
audited by,
you would have
our
all
auditors,
like the,
our state
look,
auditor.
Nancy
The
just did.
state does that.
Yeah, oh, the state, so the state has all the electric bills and they make sure that goes with,
The state has our detail, which is audited by our auditors.
so
which
you
tells
have,
what numbers that.
so the detail that you would send the state is all the electric
No, it
bills?
doesn't send any electric bills.
Oh, you
Those
would
are-
not, but you just put the
But our
number.
auditor says that that number is correct.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me.
So,
Do you mind me interjecting for 1 second?
because we'll argue for the rest of the day, yes.
I feel like we've had these conversations in the past, and I think that for all of us to feel comfortable on anything that we're voting for on this agenda, if it's related to here, maybe we can table it, and then we can sit down with either Nancy or,
I don't think
if
there's
you have any
anything here.
concerns. But I don't think it's
There's
anything to
no-
do with the agenda, and just to be mindful to, the
Well,
great
it's-
audience we actually have tonight.
Yes.
And I think there's probably stuff that wants to be addressed, so.
And I would like to put it out there again, I do want to make sure we build a relationship between the two boards. I do think we should meet again. Again, I think we should do that. I just do. Like I said, I like people on the board.
You know, we
I think the
value you guys
Bedminster
in
people.
our school district as well.
Huh?
I truly mean that. We value you guys in our school district.
But see, that's, and I think if we have a joint meeting just to talk about things,
Definitely.
we
I
should
think
do
there's
that. But Lou's
communication
not,
great.
you don't want to have, you don't think it's worth having,
If
right?
it's just going to be about tuition rate, if you want to talk about relationships with Somerset Hills and that.
Well, let's do that
That's
then.
fine. That's
Well, let's
fine.
do that then.
It's up to the board. If the board feels that that's worthwhile to do, we can set something on the agenda.
Okay. Now, don't go back and talk to each one of them separately and say, let's not
I
do it.
would never do that.
Hey, Lou,
You never know.
we're not going to do trust falls, are we?
We might. I'm not going first, but I am not going first.
Take exception to that.
So can I just clarify something? As you can tell, it was a little acrimonious, but I just want to clarify something that I think is very important, that even though we are having the discussions that we're having and the disagreements, the vehement disagreements in terms of tuition, our relationship with the administration at Bedminster, and as a matter of fact, you just got a new curriculum director. So
Yeah.
that has not changed, because we understand the most important thing is all of our children that are here, in particular at the high school. We serve Bedminster, and they come to us, and they do great things,
Yep.
and hopefully we do great things for them. So we did have Jen had Todd
Yep.
over to meet all the supervisors. So that whole piece of the curriculum, the instruction, and all of that this is not reflective of that. And I don't know how else to say it. So we're operating as if this
the
is just
administration has a
separate.
very good relationship
Yeah.
between the two schools.
Yes,
The administration of both schools it's actually a board, so I think that's why I think the board should really meet.
But I just want to put that out there, because I don't want people to think that because this tuition issue is out there, that we're not communicating, or Bedminster is not communicating with us in
Yep.
terms of the administration and working together, because that has never stopped. So I just want to be clear about that.
So I do think that going forward, we should meet as a board. I do, the two boards. I'm sorry, I
We'll
just do.
continue to meet as we do.
So to wrap this up, I do want to say that you are a valued board member here.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
shall we
that's
move
true.
on?
Okay, roll call. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah,
Roll call.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. DiGiorgio?
Yes.
Finance,
I do.
No,
I asked you big number.
We're voting on finance,
Okay.
1 to 11. Mrs. Hoppy?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees? Yes. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Ms. Sui?
Yes.
Mrs. Tover? Yes. Ms. Virtue?
Yes.
Ms. Birch?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Next is curriculum.
Curriculum. Okay, the curriculum committee met last week to review high school achievement data. Mike Patelli and Scott Nigel presented the AP student data by course. The overall passing rate was 79.28%, which is really good. Then we had Colleen Butler come and share the revised high school profile. It gives the reader a snapshot of Berners High School characteristics such as community, faculty, students, various test scores, program of studies, and the colleges and universities in which our student body have matriculated. This updated profile is now on the website for all to peruse. This is what it looks like. The committee also reviewed field trip requests, all of which have been approved by our administration. So with that, I would like to move items 1 through 5 on the agenda, with the exception of items X and FF, I think under number 4, which are to be deleted. So are there any questions?
Is there a second? Any questions or
What was the
comments?
second, I'm sorry?
Yes, so I know that we are not talking about individual performance within the APs, and I get that. I do, however, want to say, having looked at the individual performance, there's some outstanding teachers within this high school delivering outstanding results in the form of APs. Now, it's just one measure, right? I mean, but the performance on the AP exams, and it's not an isolated teacher. I mean, there's a number of them. I wish we could commend them individually, and I get that you can't, but I do want to just make it clear that there's just exceptional performance and widespread participation in APs, and there's a lot of stuff that we should be really proud of and thankful for in terms of the quality of the teaching, in the high school around these classes. So I just want to make that point.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great.
And one thing you just mentioned is that I thought was neat, is that they send this, whenever a student applies to college, they send a copy of the profile along with their the application. So I think that's pretty nice.
Guys, I was just curious, that 79% passing rate, is there a benchmark to compare that to?
So a 3 is passing, is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm just
No,
saying
it's-
overall
it's-
passing rate, is there a benchmark compared to other districts?
Compared to other
Or the
districts?
state or something?
Yeah, the information is on there about us, and we did better than the state and better, than national, but individual schools, We don't compare ourselves with that
But there is a
information.
state and a national. Do you know what it is offhand? No. Just curious, thanks.
You can find
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Baker?
Yes and all, except I'm abstaining on 4W.
Mr. DeGiorgino?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoppy?
Yeah.
Mrs. Lees? Yes. And I'm going to abstain you on your own school board's attendance. Usually we abstain on our own.
Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Ms. Sui?
Yes.
Mrs. Tover?
Yes, but I'll abstain on 4Z.
Ms. Virtue?
Yes.
And I'll abstain you on for, whatever it was, I can't see all the school.
AA.
Ms. Birch, 2, 4, and 5.
Yes.
And Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Next one is facilities and operations. Facilities committee did meet this afternoon. On the agenda, we had a request from the council, Bernardsville Council, regarding our shared services committee. We met with them a while ago, and they wanted to meet with us again. So we need to establish some dates, which we are going to reach out to them and set up second week in November for some dates to see when they would like to get back together. And this is regarding shared services between the borough and the school district, fields, buildings, and things like that. So we had a meeting, I think it was January, it was the beginning of the year. So we just want to...
No, it was in the spring.
It was in the spring, okay, in the spring. So we want to circle back with them, and they were looking for some kind of a shared service agreement. So we're going to just circle back and see what they're looking to propose to the school district. We had, out in P-PAC Gladstone, we had a number of issues regarding the trains. The train schedules with delayed trains. Our students, as many of you are aware, the high school students take the train from P-PAC, Gladstone, and Far Hills to the high school. And when the trains are delayed, and they've been delayed 4 or 5 times this year already, the students are down at the train station unaware that the train is delayed, and they have to call parents, they have to call somebody, or they're stranded down at the train station, not able to get to the high school. And New Jersey Transit seems to be more frequently having delays than they've had previously. So it's starting to be a concern out in P-PAC Gladstone. So I think we have not an alert system, but there's an app that we notified the students about, that they can check the train schedule in the morning to see if there's any delays. Don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe there's some audience members that can help us out if that's possible.
Can I just reiterate that?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, so if each student that rides a train could download NJ Transit's app on their phone, or if their parents could download it, that is the only way that they can check the schedule in the morning. We have reached out to NJ Transit, and we've reached out to the police in P-PAC Gladstone, assuming they would be notified. They are not notified. And they said the only way to check is to check to see it on the app or on the news. So
Because it'll say under delays, like even if you're just a commuter.
Yeah.
Look, under delays under your line.
Right, that's the only way, unfortunately. If we had a way of alerting everybody, we would, but they're not telling us.
So that becomes an issue, getting high school students here in the morning. The other issue is delayed openings. The train schedule doesn't correspond to our opening on delayed openings. So we'd like to investigate possibly, when there's a delayed opening, having a bus that goes to the train station at an appropriate time to get them here for the delayed opening start time of the high school. So we have 3 delayed openings with the teacher development days. So if there's other delayed openings, we may look to get a bus that meets at a certain time on delayed openings to get the kids here. On the reverse, going home, they have 16 minutes to get from here to the train station. some of the concerns were if the train is early, but we were told the train is never early, so I don't know if that's true or not, but that was one of the concerns from the parents out, that if the train is early, they have 16 minutes, which is enough time, I think, to get from here to the train station if they go straight down. If they miss that train, it's an hour for the next train. But now we have the library that's open, which they can come back to. And we also have a late bus. If parents aren't aware of it, we do have a late bus that goes to the middle school and the high school, which any PPAC Gladstone student can take, and I think it leaves at 3:30 from the high school. So if you missed the train, we also have a late bus that does a run to PPAC and does drop you off at I believe at your house. So if they are stuck or they're in a jam, missed the train, they want to come back to the high school, 3:30, there is a late bus that will take them right to PPAC and Gladstone and Far Hills. So maybe we should maybe let them know that if it's available, we should get that out
to re-advertise it to the kids.
to all the ones that get the train passes, that they should know that there is a late bus if they miss the train. I think that was most of the concerns, or maybe people in the audience that can elaborate if there's other concerns that we'll take into consideration and try and.
Snow days might be a problem.
With the train?
Delayed opening.
Delay,
I don't, if you have to do a bus for a regular delayed opening, I would imagine it would be the same issue.
inclement weather. Okay, so that's, I don't know how, we could set up the scheduled delayed openings, but the snow days, we'll have, yeah.
We'll have to think about that.
If the students are late because of the.
Oh, they're never
That's
penalized.
not a problem.
Even if the train is late or delayed, they're never penalized, for tardy to the school. No, that's always been the policy with the trains.
Because it would be too late to get a bus, because,
For scheduled days, we can provide a special bus.
We try
for
to
that.
call the inclement weather the night before, but still, I don't know that we could get a bus. Yeah, because then that's a problem for them when we have delayed openings, because they have to get out and get their buses going early, so I don't know that we could do that, but we'll try to figure something out, yeah. That might not be as doable, to be honest.
Right, right. I was just thinking.
But they're not counted, they're not penalized.
Well, the trains usually run when nothing else does.
Yeah, the trains are probably better than the buses.
Well, you just early. They can get
The other items we talked about were some of the big projects that we're looking to start. Generators at the middle school and Bedwell. We have something in the budget, but we want to look further, and those were budgeted for 17-18, but those were for life safety and the heating systems. We may want to look at if there's other things that we want to get a bigger generator for some of to keep the building running, the school, the classrooms. So if it's like in the middle of the day, instead of having to close school, we may be able to stay open for the regular school day. So there's more to come on that. Also, we're going to look at the bathrooms at the middle school. We did budget some money for just cosmetics, but we think we have to do more than cosmetics to update the middle school bathroom. So we're going to investigate how much more that will cost and probably get that to the next budget cycle for the middle school bathrooms. Media center at the middle school, we had a request to look at that, and as you saw on our strategic plan, that was one of the initiatives. So that was a request from the middle school to look at the media center, but we did identify that as an area for the strategic plan to be part of that. So that'll be reviewed in facilities for updating and looking possibly to increase the STEM applications or STEAM applications down in the middle school. And also we had a request to look at the kitchen serving area to see if there's a better way to reconfigure that serving line kitchen situation. So that's another thing facilities will be looking at. Parking, we're going to relook at the parking in front of the high school to see if we've had previous plans. We want to keep looking at expanding parking in front of the high school by maybe moving the curbing out on on the opposite side of the school building to maybe move that out and reconfigure parking spaces to get some additional parking in front of the high school. And Tim mentioned the opioid presentation here at the high school, and one of the things that was mentioned, or maybe was presented, was the WE TIP program, which I told Tim that we would include on our facilities agenda, but in talking with Nancy, we do have a similar program, what's called...
We have WE TIP.
I'm
We
sorry,
have Stop
his
It.
was Stop It, the Stop It program that you had seen at the opioid presentation. Was an anonymous call-in or text-in or email-in program. We have a same or similar kind of anonymous program here, which is called WE TIP program, which Nancy this has been in place for a while.
We've had for a number of years.
We may need to just re-educate the public and emphasize that we do have that kind of a program, and we have information and results on how that program works.
I just want to say it's free, it's from our insurance company, and it's huge, it's all over the United States, and they just give some statistics. There were 1,296,537 crimes reported through their website, resulting in 16,336 arrests and 8,372 convictions. That's nationwide. But the idea is that it does work.
Maybe I'll wait until we move.
Okay.
And Nancy had the security meeting today, which I think you received the grant money, is that what?
No, the grant money was at another, that was a meeting with the chief of police between the principals and director of facilities to talk about reunification plans and other things.
Oh, okay.
So just to say that security is ongoing.
Okay. Okay, so that was my report, so I'd like to move motions 1 through 3. 3 is on the addendum. If I could have a second.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments?
And so the WE TIP, what exactly is that?
It's a program whereby a person picks up the phone, or you can do it online. And the first thing the person says on the other, it's a big company, and it's through our insurance company, so they pay and monitor, so we're not paying anything for it. So when you call, they pick up the phone and they say, please do not identify yourself in any way. That's the first thing they say to you. They say this is a 100% anonymous program, and what are you reporting? And so the person reports it. Now that's not to say they could identify themselves, but they're told right away, don't, And then from that, there's action taken. That information is relayed to law enforcement, and then law enforcement will act on that or investigate the tip.
So I would encourage the F&O committee to look at, Stop It. I'm not endorsing them or any of that, but it is, there may be a reason why people aren't using the WE TIP thing. I mean, first of all, having to make a call is going to eliminate probably 99% of the people who would do it.
No, you can do it in other ways too. It's not just a phone call.
Right, but what I would encourage us to look at it, because it's an app and it's fully anonymous, and it's being used all over the country, and insurance companies are actually paying for it and giving credit around it. And I just think, and I'm not saying it's the right thing, and maybe the WE TIP is it. I don't know, but what I do know is there's a lot that's happening in our schools, a lot that the kids are aware of, a lot that some of other folks are aware of, and I think we should, as a board, be trying to use every tool at our disposal to ensure a safe environment for the kids and a way for people to, basically share their concerns in a fully anonymous way. The other thing that's nice about what these guys do is it's all within the system. It's all within the school. So it's just anonymizing stuff that goes to a designated group of 1, 2, 3, 4 people within the school who would be the recipients anyway. There's no third party. There's no reporting into the police. There's no nothing. It kind of keeps
so
it
this
within.
is only within the school?
Keeps it within the school.
Oh, so it's not like a crime reporting?
Yeah, it's not a crime report. It's just sort of like an incident thing. And there's some powerful stories. And again, I'm not most assuredly endorsing it, but I do think we need to look at it. And as I said, we need to, just from a board standpoint, do everything we can to ensure a safe and healthy environment for our kids. And there's a lot of stuff going on that's not safe, it's not healthy. And if we can provide mechanisms for people to make the administration aware of activities that are not safe, we should do that.
Agreed, 100%. I just want to clarify one other thing. I agree 100%. I also just did ask the insurance company about the Stop It, and they said they investigated the two, and they were promoting the We Tip over the Stop It. But I do think we should look at Stop It and see maybe it would meet our needs. In addition, we're not paying anything for We Tip, so if Stop It is minor, that's fine.
Yeah, Tim, and actually, you addressed my greatest concern too, because, as opposed to We Tip, getting the police involved is it's a permanent step. And when, kids, they want to learn, it's a rehabilitation process. And I think that's a much safer route to keep it contained, but still to help the kids.
Oh, yeah, because it would be like first of all, if it would go to the administration, they could determine if it would be necessary.
Right.
Based on whatever the content of the tip is.
That
To
sounds
take
good.
it to the next level instead of just automatically going there.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Yes.
I just wanted to mention something about, when you said about increasing parking,
Yes.
I'm assuming it's on Olcott?
No.
No.
No, it's in front of the high school here. Front of the high school. You know where the parking is opposite the building along the,
Oh, right.
where the
Oh, okay, it's not on the
church.
street?
No,
Okay.
no. We're looking to move that curb back into the grass area, and then
Okay.
instead of having the cars parked,
Parallel
they would
be-
park straight in,
What
and that would give you more parking in
What
front.
about
So
kids
some that
backing up
lane,
though?
I'm sorry?
Would kids park there or teachers? Because there would be maybe a backing up problem.
There would probably be more visitors, because students' parking is on the opposite side of that.
I thought students park out there too, no?
They do, that's
do.
public parking.
Oh, they just park, so
Yeah.
they weren't, I thought they were assigned some of those
They are,
spots.
they're seniors.
Seniors are assigned some of
Seniors
those,
are
yeah.
assigned.
On our
Inside.
lot.
Okay.
Yeah, but then, if you have your license, you can drive, or you don't get a spot, then you can park wherever there's parking.
Okay.
In public
But
street.
some of the seniors have parking in that
Most
spot,
do.
No, not in that front
No.
area.
in that front end, that,
Those
Right
are-
next to the high school, they do.
In the large lot is
Right by the
assigned
gate.
parking.
okay, I know that.
That's open parking in the front.
I know that, I thought that some were giving that over, some over there too, that's all.
I don't.
You're talking about the church? I mean, you're talking about the library?
Right in front of the, that spot right up there.
That we're talking about.
Yeah,
the
we're
area that
talking-
I don't believe that's assigned parking.
There's no, okay. Some of it wasn't, it just didn't. Okay.
Because there's not designated spots there, that's all just one big open area,
Yeah.
because there's not lines to create.
Yeah, and I thought that was,
parking
so what you're trying to do is pull, because some, the land in front of it is some of the land that you own, the
Right.
school owns, so you're gonna move that back
spots.
and
Move the
then,
curving back, and then instead of being parallel with the street, it would be a 90-degree
so
angle with the
you'll
street.
end up having
And then
more spots.
More spots. We're always looking for it, and that's part of the strategic planning, so that's probably going to be in the strategic plan for F&O to look at. But that's one of the topic of discussions we always have, more parking. So, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. DeGiorno?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoppy?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees? Yes. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Ms. Sui?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Ms. Virtue?
Yes.
Ms. Bird?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Next is policy. We had a policy meeting last week, and this is a great segue into what you were talking about for keeping our kids safe in the school. We had a long discussion, and we don't have a policy for review tonight, but we will hopefully have it for the November. We have two policies for the November first reading. One is going to be a breathalyzer policy that will be used at any high school sponsored function, such
Well,
as...
basically 7 through 12.
Well, 7 through 12, but would be used at high school functions, football games, proms, Night of the Stars, things like that, so that we would be able to use a breathalyzer at any of our sponsored events from 7 through 12. Also, we are looking, or we will be proposing to the board, a random drug testing policy, which if you pay the $75 activity fee, you will be part of the random drug testing. If you are not in any of the extracurriculars that pays the $75 fee, it would be an opportunity for your parents to sign you up for the random drug testing. So, and the parking, if you get one of those assigned parking, you would be included in the random drug testing policy. So it would include parking, extracurriculars, anything that pays the 75 activity fee. If you're in one of those activities, extracurricular activities, you will be automatically in that random drug testing. If you're not in any of those things, don't have a parking space and not in an activity, your parent or guardian would be able to sign a form to have you included in the random drug testing.
And so the random, you just gonna
Randomly.
No,
Random drug testing.
but, we're just rolling it out, so we're in the process of reviewing other districts' policies and writing it, so it's not just wing it.
Right, we will have all.
Okay, good, because I would have to, you know, because sometimes random and not being
it's.
I was going to say that we did look at this.
Let Franny finish that.
It's going to be computerized, so it would be every, it's every 6th or every 8th or it's a package that we would purchase in terms of it being independent of us, because one of the things that we don't want to have said is, you don't like my child, so you selected them, and that's, so but right now, I don't want to get too into it because we don't have the specifics. So what the plan is, first we need to write the policy, and then we're going to bring the policies to the board. Policy has to meet again, and then we'll review them again. So we want everybody to really thoroughly understand them and to know that these policies are coming. So even though they're not in effect and they're in the process of being written, as the HSAs have been meeting and as people have asked me, well, can I say that these policies are coming? We've said yes, because we want to get the word out that, in effect, if you're here and you're attending one of our extracurricular functions or you're participating in it, that you are going to be subject to a random drug test, and that you're going to be subject to a breathalyzer. And if you fail the breathalyzer, then you're going out for the drug and the alcohol screening. So, I mean, that's the policy that we're writing for that.
Okay.
The other thing, the second policy, as he said, is a policy for random drug screening, drug and alcohol screening. And we've essentially eliminated almost everybody in that, because almost everybody participates in an extracurricular activity or parks. So the idea of it being voluntary is very, very slim, because almost all of the students participate in something that's extracurricular, and if you don't and you're a parent and you want your child to be in this, you can opt in. Now, having said that, what we also want to include in that is, and we're working on the wording for this, because right now in our policy we do address vapes, but it's all the school districts are kind of struggling with how to address the vaping, because it's and the high school principal sent a letter home, which I think was a great letter. He sent the letter home and he described what vaping is, and he gave pictures. He showed parents, he included pictures that you can look for, and people, we can't believe the number of parents who have called to say, I found this, what do I do? And so, he said, his advice was get your child drug tested. So the number of vapes that we're seeing at the high school level is alarmingly increasing. And the problem for us is that, I don't know if you know or you don't know, but I really want to get it out there, that all of our schools operate on procedures that are based on board policy. So they can't operate they can't do anything unless we have a board policy along with a regulation, which is how the policy will be enacted. So that's what we're doing now, and I think that this is extremely strict, and because we feel an obligation to parent when those students are here. And now the problem that we run into, being very candid, is that school ends, everybody leaves, and we have the weekends to deal with, and we have events at the schools, and kids come in a manner that they shouldn't, where they've been drinking or they've been taking drugs or whatever, and there's a problem. And, we know that there's collections of students because our teams are together, our, other groupings are together, and I don't want to get specific, but it limits us because it's not one of our functions. It's not during the school day. It's not something that we are sponsoring, yet we know that our students are doing this. So it puts us, at a little bit of a loss because people don't want to call the police. You don't want to do that because people think that that's heavy-handed. But yet, so they call us. And we do want to help. It's not that we don't want to help. It's just that we are limited by law and by statute on what we can do. So in discussing this, because we have, to be honest with you, we have been discussing this since last spring. Because at the prom last year, we had a number of incidents that were just something that we can't tolerate. And in the past, this community and the school board wasn't, and the culture was different, wasn't really ready to adopt something like a random drug screening because, that's intrusive. It is. But we feel that it's necessary at this point. We feel that we need to do it for the safety of the students who are coming to us, who are attending our events, who are part of our sports team, our other extracurriculars, because they're all our students. And, we don't want them doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And, we can't police them 24/7, and we realize that you can't police them 24/7. We get that. We understand that. So what do you do? And our answer to that is that we feel very strongly that if we put these policies in place, that you're going to know if your child has been using drugs or alcohol. And that we are also going to support that, obviously, with drug counseling, alcohol education, drug education, all those outreach services, but there will also be a consequence. And the consequences we're working on too, because they will also be tiered. But there will be consequences, and that will be it. And, if and when somebody tests positively and they do come before the board, it will be sad that you can't play your sport. It will be sad that you can't participate in your extracurricular, but you're not going to be able to do it for a period of time because drugs are illegal, drugs are unsafe, and drugs are not welcome here. So the more we can get that message out, the better. And we know that probably the greatest message will be, unfortunately, when someone tests positive. And they have to come before us, and we have to say, you're done. You're done with your sport for X amount of time, you're done with your extracurricular for X amount of time, and you're required to self-report to a college. And inevitably, people will come before us, I know it will happen, and say, but my child is a good child, and I don't want them to have to report that to a college. And we do not report things to colleges. We do not send the discipline report. But colleges will ask your son or your daughter to self-report, and then that's on them. So I mean, the incentive to not do drugs is what we're after here, and we are really trying to provide an incentive for children, for our students, to not drink and to not do drugs. Because if you're part of any of the things that we've described, you're going to be drug tested, and you're going to fall into that, and you're going to have to suffer the consequences, which as we tier, like what we're looking at, just to give you an example, is the first time you test positive would be like a suspension from sports for extracurriculars for 30 days.
That's
but
a
then
long time.
that's a long time, right? But it's not. It's not forever. But it's 30 days.
Painful.
Yes, it's painful, and it's most of a season. The second time you do it, you're going to get a school suspension, right? If you are part. This is if you're part of the random. If you're part of the random, and the first time we get you, you're going to be suspended from your extracurricular for 30. The second time, if it happens, you're done with the sport for the year, and you're also suspended. So I mean, it's going to, increase. So we're still fine tuning it because, we think it's important to do it incrementally because we have to make sure that it matches, like 30 days, that, like you said, that's huge. But it needs to happen. We can't have 5 students not walking in graduation because they were inebriated at the prom. We can't have students going off campus in a group and getting high or drinking and getting it reported to us and us act like we don't know. And the only way around that for a school district, and maybe that's not the right terminology to say around it, but we're not the police, we don't have authority other than in those areas that I've talked about in terms of where we provide the structure, but yet we feel we're remiss if we don't act. So our way of acting is to say we're going to have a breathalyzer. And getting back to the vapes, we're going to construct something in our policy that if you get caught with a vape, you get breathalyzed. And if you get breathalyzed and it comes back positive, then you get drug tested. So
You can't tell what's in it.
You can't tell what's in the vape. So what we want to do is we want to say, because you can't imagine how many vapes there are right now floating around the district. And I bet, unfortunately, if you went home and you looked, I don't know, some of you would be surprised because it's incredible and there's so little. Those of you that got the letter, there's so little and they fit in right in the side of the computer in the drives it's incredible. So if you get caught with that now, then what we want to do is what I said. We want to say, okay, then you either get, we can't decide, you either get the breathalyzer or you go into the random drug testing. Right.
But that's going to be part of your policy.
Yes.
Also, the fact that you're saying that somebody calls you and said the kids are off like drinking.
Well, it depends. Like,
because that's
we're not the police.
Because that's there's a slippery slope.
No, we can't go there.
Okay, good, because you can have somebody just call because they don't like a kid, so I'm going to call, or some other kids call and say, well, let's call so-and-so.
No, if somebody says to us, it's 5 o'clock and the kids are down there drinking, we don't have any authority, and I don't think people understand that we don't have the authority to do that. You need to call the police, and on that, you need to call the police and say, kids are drinking. If it's one of our activities or our, extracurriculars or our events, we are absolutely responsible for it, and that's why we usually have police there. So that's where the slippery slope is. But we figure if we put these policies in, then if you're one of the kids that's down there at 6 o'clock at night and drinking, then or getting high, then you're risking getting caught up in the random drug testing.
When you come to the
event?
event?
When you come back to school, because if you played it, it's so encompassing.
It's a random number that comes up. You could possibly, because that would stay in your system for 30 days, however many days, a drug could stay in your system. You could be down there on a Saturday. Next Thursday, you might get called in on a random drug testing and still would be in your system.
But where we're having a lot of problems though are, we know we can't get everything, but we feel that this is a really good, solid first step. And the biggest problems that are visible to us, are at our extracurriculars. One of the reasons we talked about homecoming, and one of the reasons why we feel that some of the events are not as populated as or well attended is because our principal has said, if you're going to come here with drugs in your system or alcohol in your system, don't. Because you're not welcome. Because we want our events to be alcohol and drug free. So, as I said, we're working to write the policy. We'll be continuing to fine tune it, to get input, but we feel very strongly that we need to have stronger drug and alcohol policies in place.
I think the goal, though, it sounds punitive, but the goal
It's
is
not.
really preventative.
Yes.
Because if you had been at the opioid thing, and you could just see if anyone had ever known that this kid had something in his system early on, maybe you could prevent these horrible stories. And so for our kids,
prevention.
it's a great out. I can't do that. I can't do that, I'm on the baseball team, or I can't,
I'm in the play. I
I
can't.
can't risk that,
Yeah.
because I have
maybe
to drive to
call them
school and I
next
need to park, or
next week.
whatever it is. I mean, if it just gives them one extra tool in their basket that they can use to say no, then we've done a good thing.
That's true, and I think it's a good idea too. I just want to make sure when we do, and I guess we have to look at the policies, you want to make sure that it is open to other things. And I mean by harassment to some students where now they're being drug tested all the time because somehow somebody's calling these students and
Well, no, it isn't.
you have to watch all that kind of stuff,
It's
because I am familiar with kids who have been in certain situations.
It's a
like
random
that.
number generator
We're not
that
gonna
just.
pick it.
Okay, that's good,
Yeah,
because,
we don't pick that.
We don't want to pick it, because that would be
There's no
one of
way
the, yeah.
you could do that.
Yeah.
It's called a
A
random
certain
number
type of
generator.
kids.
Yeah, right, it's a
in certain
random, as I said, it's a
environments are-
random number generator, so,
Yeah,
because we
there's
don't want
something
to
that
be.
randomly picks a number to be called.
Yeah,
And I know we said that this started last year, but I think this board had looked at it 2007, 2008. I think Greg was really instrumental in bringing a lot of information to the board, which I shared with the policy committee when we were looking at this. So it's been something that this board has been looking at and discussing
For the
for
record,
a long time.
and I appreciate everything Franny has said, and I will echo what Jamie had said. This is not a gotcha kind of program, and I'm going to be very active in making sure that this is a program that is helpful and not as punitive as it may have come across. I don't think that's how it's going to come across. I trust that we're going to do the right thing. We have enough people looking at it. But I will say it was necessary back then, and it's necessary today. And I think it's something to do. It's something that we're doing, that we're responding to, and I appreciate that as a board member. I appreciate Tim's suggestion with the other program. I also, along with Tim and Jamie, was at and very involved in the community crisis organization, and I applaud everything that they're doing, and I encourage our district, our staff, all staff, as much as possible to get involved with them, because it's critically important. And again, it was important back then, and if we don't do something today, we're going to look back and be having this conversation 10 years from now. We can't keep kicking this can down the road. So I spoke with some parents, and I'm encouraged by the positive feedback from the parents I've spoken to, that they want to see something done. Usually you just get the naysayers, people who don't want it done. You educate my student, I'll parent my student, and let's agree to that. And that's not really how it works. It's much bigger than that, as Franny elaborated on just a few minutes ago. So.
Yeah, and it is a community here, so it isn't just like that. It's like if you were under the influence driving a car in the parking lot, it's not just about you. It's all of our kids here. So, I don't know. It's a shame that we feel we have to do it.
Well, I do want to commend you. I think it's absolutely necessary and appropriate what we're doing. And, it may talk about a slippery slope. If we know that there are things going on and we don't implement something, we would be remiss. And these kids will be going down a slippery slope when perhaps we could literally save their lives. And not only their lives, but if they get into a car, saving someone else's life too. It wasn't even part of it. And yes, there's always been drugs, but it's more prevalent now. And it can't be ignored. So, thank you.
So we will have a policy, hopefully, I'm sure we'll have it by 2 policies for November for us to review on the first reading. And then in December, you can have the second reading for this. So just as information to everyone, an opportunity to review it in November.
I have a quick question,
So-
actually, too. I know you had mentioned the vaping policy regarding the high school and the outreach done by Mr. Nigel, but is that being done at the middle school level as well?
It's all the district, it's middle and the high school. We just
So the policy encompasses both?
Yeah, it's going to be.
The policy's
It's going to be 7, no, it's
of
going to be 7.
7 through 12.
Yeah, we were talking to the HSA, and we're leaning more towards 7 to 12. So, yeah, but you'll be getting more information and ongoing, but yeah. So he had a lot of pictures that he shared with the middle school